VR! So there was a time a couple months ago when, you know, Liz and I always have this back and forth during the year where usually, like, if we need something, if it's something practical, and if we can afford it, we'll get it. And so Christmas sometimes can be difficult because, yeah, it can be difficult, especially to find, for me, something that I don't already know about or something where it would be a surprise. And so it was really fun when I was out in the living room, and I remember this a couple months ago, where Liz just went, "Oh, I found the perfect thing for you!" And I was like, "That's fantastic." And it really was. I can actually show it to you right here. This is something that I hadn't even heard of, that my wife found. It's called a Myo gesture responsive armband, and it's a really cool idea. So basically what this does is it reads the tendons in your arm, so it is able to recognize different gestures basically by, you know, what these different little sensors are picking up on. And there's also a gyroscope and an accelerometer, some of the iPod and Oculus Rift kind of stuff going on in here. And so it can recognize like a fist squeeze, hand to the left, hand to the right, yeah, all moving around. This can be like a mouse, flicking things left, right, hand, open palm, double tap. And so this can be used for everything from like, let's control Netflix, fast forward, pause, open, volume up, volume down, to games. And so let's be clear, this is definitely a developer's version. All the bugs aren't worked out. There's very few situations where this is a better alternative to something else, like a mouse, like a game controller, but it's really fun to start seeing the potential. And so when I had one day at work earlier this week, I kind of did the things I had to do, and then I was like, you know what, there's almost no one in the office, let's try to see if I can do something with this. So I popped in the Unity plugin, played with one of the VR spaceflight games that Unity recently put out, where you're controlling a ship with your head motion, which is kind of a cool thing, surprisingly intuitive. And so I strapped a big hammer to the back of the spaceship and made the top of the hammer. You'd think after all the construction work going on this week, I'd be able to say what the top of a hammer is called. The mallet, I guess. I made the mallet responsive to all the asteroids in the game, and so if they touch the asteroids, it explodes. And so the hammer is controlled by moving your arm around. And so, yeah, so you're flying a spaceship with your head while swinging your arm around to swing a hammer, you know, as you do as a pilot in the Space Marines or whatever. And it was really fun. It was really cool to put this together relatively fast. And no, right now I can't think of a practical way that that particular thing is going to be useful for my office. But Global Game Jam 2016, that's going to be amazing. But also, let's be clear, like this could be, if I'm working on a theater model, this could be, you know, actual arms for people. You could be looking at when you're leaning on a rail or leaning to the side or whatever. Like this could all correspond to, you know, your virtual avatar in that world. Because again, if I'm worried about sightlines, like this changes sightlines, this changes sightlines, especially if I have the motions that I'm doing corresponding to, say, a bunch of other people. If I have 30 people in a row on a side gallery and I have one person do this and then have everyone do that, it'll be interesting to track how that affects what people can see. So, you know, I'm hoping that I'll get to keep doing stuff with this, because unlike the DK1 of the Oculus, it seems like they're continually updating the firmware for this. And so, yeah, it's a really great developer's tool, and there's not a lot of content out there right now, but it has a lot of potential, so it's kind of exciting to think I could be, you know, kind of on the cutting edge of that and seeing where this could go. So awesome present from Liz, great way to wrap up a year of great VR and a lot of awesome development on that front. So, oh, and it works with Android as well as computer, so, you know, who knows how this could start to integrate into my apps, as simple as like next seat, blah, 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 fast forward, rewind. That'll all be really cool. So let's see where that goes. 2016 VR. I feel like I should be doing a toast at the end of each of these categories since we're, you know, wrapping them up for the year. But yeah, it doesn't really feel like the end. I've done this thing so many times now, it just feels like routine, and it's really strange to think I won't be doing this next week. But I have all sorts of new projects coming up, so I certainly won't be bored. I do want to find a way, though, to keep somehow documenting Alistair growing up, though. So we'll see if that makes its way into what I'll be doing. We'll talk more about that in the outro.